all like regular millwork, maybe cabinetry and trims and doors and all these other kind of things, that's easily another 10-20% of a project. So as far as for us, when I look at any of these projects, we could, if we did a large scope, we could capture 30% of that entire construction value, which is ridiculous. Like, they're huge, right? That's why there's like so much opportunity. It's mind-boggling how much there is. And where are these people coming from? We don't have enough. We don't have enough people, let alone skilled people. Like, skilled construction workers, there's not nearly enough. There's not enough people. Like, the country is small. Yeah, I think it's a very exciting time for the Bahamas and the construction world and the economy in general. It's growing. And if you pay close attention to what's happening around the country, there's a massive amount of development in new construction. And it goes across many different sectors, from cruise ships to resorts to retail businesses, all building new projects coming on stream in the coming months and years. In each project, they're broken down into sectors. So let's just say a $100 million project. Typically, the FF&E, the fixtures, furnishings, and equipment, they're one of the last things to go into the building, but that can be anywhere from 10 to 15% of the value of the project. So $10 to $15 million in a $100 million project. In addition to those furnishings, just the general millwork, everything from finished carpentry through cabinetry, doors, stairs, wood ceilings, all those kind of things, that can easily be another 10 to 20% of that project. So when we look at all of these mega projects and all of this investment that's coming to the Bahamas, just for my industry and in my sector, you could be upwards of 30% of that construction value relates to what we do in the millwork industry. So it's pretty spectacular when you look at it that way, at the opportunity and what's here now and what's coming in the future for this country, for the skilled trades, for people, specifically in my industry in carpentry and millwork. There's unbelievable opportunity that I've never seen this level before in the Bahamas. It is. I think it's going to have a massive effect, positive effects on the economy. We're also already seeing the positive effects from the boom in Miami. Florida and South Florida specifically has been under a boom for really the last 6 years. And the construction has almost taken a second boom recently. And now we have a whole bunch of the tech billionaires that are moving to Miami. And all of those have ripple effects down into the Bahamas. They come here for fun. They come here and invest further into the Bahamas because we're right next door. So everything that we see going on in Miami, there is a ripple effect or a compound effect that happens to us in the Bahamas. And I think some of that relates to all this construction that we see. I think some of that is coming and we can't even see it yet. We haven't even seen those effects. Some of the projects we're currently working on is the Royal Caribbean's Beach Club on Paradise Island, the Royal Beach Club on Paradise Island. And we're also doing the Mandara Spa for Atlantis. We are also doing a bunch of various projects for Bahamas. And so Bahamas has invested somewhere between $30 and $50 million in the last 18 months in new restaurants, upgrades, just some new product offering at Bahamas. So we've been involved in some of that, which is fantastic. A similar thing is what's going on at Atlantis. The Mandara Spa was a $10 million renovation. They completely gutted it and started over with a brand new design. We've been involved in that project for the last year and a half. And just in the last couple of months, Atlantis announced that they have their $470 million financing in place to continue their renovations. So they're going to put $200 million into the Cove and $200 million into other parts of the resort. So we're going to see expansion and a lot of work going on over the next couple of years at Atlantis, which is fantastic. We were involved in the renovations to the Atlantis Casino. That's sort of ongoing over the last 2 years, but we renovated all of the bars and restaurants within the casino and a high rollers lounge. And so you walk in there today and it's a whole new place. And it's really, it's elevated the level. It's exciting. It's very cool. So yeah, we hope to be involved in some of these future renovations that are coming on stream very soon. Atlantis is also about to start renovation to their mega suite, what they call the mega suite. So everybody's familiar with the Bridge Suite or the Michael Jackson Suite. It is basically in its original condition from when it was first built. And so this is the first major renovation. They're completely gutting it, and that starts in a couple weeks. And then they're also going to renovate all the rest of their mega suites across the property. So those are some of the first renovations happening there. But we hope to be. Yeah, absolutely. We looked at the drawings several years ago when they were doing the first rendition, and we've looked at some of those things. But yes, we're pursuing it, and we hope to be involved in all of those big, exciting projects going forward. Miami's got its own construction boom going on, but here in the Bahamas, we have a spectacular boom right here on our own shores. And countrywide, there's over $12 billion in development and construction that's either coming out of the ground now or on the books and happening in the coming years. If you look at just Paradise Island alone, the Four Seasons Resort, they've cleared the land and started construction there. That's a $300 million development, 4 large residential towers, and they're very high price point, high selling price point. Right, almost next door is the Atlantis property, and they're redeveloping the beach towers, and that might still be a year or two down the road, but the complete demolition and reconstruction of the beach towers will probably exceed $500 million on its own. The core of Atlantis and the Cove and some of the existing properties, they recently announced financing for $470 million that they're starting within weeks, renovating some of their super suites there at Atlantis. That renovation will go on probably over the next 24 months. Just further down, still on Paradise Island, we have the Royal Beach Club that opened at the end of December of last year. They invested $200 million in that build-out, in that project. That's allowing more cruise ships to come to the Bahamas and more guests to come and see a spectacular beach that was never available to the public before. So that's a fantastic, exciting project that we're involved in. We're still involved in over at the Royal Beach Club. In downtown Nassau, if you were just to drive over the bridge, at the bottom of the bridge, there's a project announced just a couple months ago that is like a commercial plaza with some restaurants right beside the soccer beach stadium. And I believe there's a small marina going in with that one as well. So it's great to see like the downtown core being renovated and upgraded. That's really going to help that area of downtown Nassau. Yeah, so the Brickell Group, they've publicly announced, or it's published in the newspaper, that they plan on spending over $500 million in construction and development. But when you go to their office and they show you all the plans and everything on the wall, it's significantly more than that. It's approaching much closer to $1 billion in development. And that's here in New Providence. So you can see some of it now. The Venetian Plaza just opened up in the last couple months, and construction continues in the back of that. They're building a gym, sports and beach club in the back, and then there's a hotel that's eventually going to be built behind that. They have other waterfront condominiums planned down at Love Beach, and so what they're doing alone in one group is spectacular. It's a tremendous amount of work. Yeah, the government, they announced it some time ago, but it's finally just started. I think they closed on the deal with the financing from the Chinese. And last week I drove by and they're clearing the land. So there's something actually happening there. But the new hospital here right in the center of New Providence, $260 million in construction. That will take a couple of years and probably create somewhere between 300 to 500 jobs just in construction of that one hospital. Yeah, so Goldwyn, the first tower opened, I think it's nearly 2 years ago now, and it is one of the most spectacular, architecturally significant buildings ever built here in New Providence. It's a gorgeous place. The restaurants, the pools, everything is a fantastic project. And now they're on phase two. They've had their topping off of the construction, the 13-story building next door. The original investment was roughly $120 million, and now they're building another $100 million in this phase two tower. So its completion is probably less than a year away, and they've really transformed the Cable Beach skyline. It's beautiful when you drive around Go Slow Bend, and you can see all of Bahamas and now the two towers of Goldwyn. It's pretty spectacular what's happening on the Cable Beach skyline. Yeah, so Bahamas started about 18 months ago, a year to 18 months ago, with some general renovations, some new restaurants, and some general upgrades throughout the property. They've put in reportedly more than $38 million into those renovations. And since then, they announced and have actually started construction on the new hotel, which is in excess of $700 million. It's right next door to the existing water park. It's the old Crystal Palace site, a beautiful location right on the beach. And that is a very tall hotel tower. They have residential units that they're going to build alongside that for purchase. And then there's 30,000 square feet of convention center space. So Bahamas is really doubling the size of their convention center space, which again is spectacular. Those conventions and businesses that come here every day to do their year-end review or their yearly convention brings an awful lot of people to the Bahamas and an awful lot of tourism dollars. So to see that expanding 100% is going to be, again, fabulous for the Bahamas, Cable Beach. That project specifically, $700 million, that's probably in excess of 1,000 construction jobs. And it just started 2 weeks ago. The local company has started the pilings the concrete coming out of the ground. So that's going to be a very huge, iconic project for Cable Beach. No, there's more. Yeah, the Fox Group, Adrian Fox and his daughter Adriana Fox, they're just further down the street from Bahamas in Cable Beach. They're redeveloping the Balmoral Island with a beach club, and they're also building a small complex for their offices and some commercial retail spaces right in the heart of Cable Beach. And just a little bit further down, they're building 2 residential towers, which again will have accompanying commercial spaces to go with it. And they're spectacular ocean views. And I believe they've announced something in excess of $300 million on that project, just in those 3 developments that they're doing within the Cable Beach core. So all of that development is just talking about what's happening in New Providence. There's significant other development going on with hotels in Xoana, $3 billion in investment going into Grand Bahama. MSC is expanding their operations on their little island, as well as Royal Caribbean is investing $250 million at Coco Key expansion. But all of those massive projects, when it relates to our industry and in carpentry and millwork and furnishings, typically on a project, the FF&E budget, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, at the end of the project can be 10 to 15% of that total construction value. So the millwork industry is part of that, often with custom furnishings. And in addition to that, the actual millwork budgets, which would span from like finished carpentry all the way through cabinetry and specifically millwork products, that can be another 10 to 20% of an entire budget. So there is easily 30% of each and every one of those construction projects that relates to the millwork industry. And so to look at the $12 billion across the country and how's that going to have an effect on our skilled trades here in the Bahamas is absolutely tremendous. It's very exciting, and to figure out how, as an industry, we can be a big part of that, how we can be involved and support all of those projects. It's really going to transform what the industry looks like here in the Bahamas. In Exuma, Rosewood is building a new hotel in Exuma, and they had a groundbreaking ceremony just a few weeks ago. I believe that's roughly $300 million construction project. And again, it's bringing hundreds of jobs through the initial construction period, as well as an operating resort, in perpetuity, is also hundreds of jobs. That's in a really unique, remote site in the northern Exumas. And that'll pose lots of challenges for construction, but I think also the level of quality that comes with Rosewood and the high-end product is going to be great for this country, and to have the opportunity to build to that level of construction, it's elevating our industry tremendously. And so Royal Caribbean purchased the Xanadu Beach property several years ago in Grand Bahama, and construction has not started yet, but they're actively working on the design in the early stages of that project. So that's coming in the coming years. It again is a massive project. I believe with the purchase, the land, and the construction, it's over $350 million with the purchase and the construction of that project. So it's another very large one for Grand Bahama. MSC has announced investment, tremendous investment into Grand Bahama as well, and into the port there. MSC as a company, as a whole, throughout the Bahamas, with their existing operations as well as the investment into Grand Bahama, are going to come very close to $1 billion in investment. And I think if you add up what Royal Caribbean has just done with the Royal Beach Club on Paradise Island, as well as Xanadu Beach in the future, and Coco Key expansion, which they're currently working on, they're also going to come very close to $1 billion investment in the Bahamas over a span of just a few years. So it's really exciting to be part of that development and see what they're doing here in the Bahamas.